Okay, so it's officially seed starting for my zone where I'm at in Michigan. And I am a little bit late starting my sweet potato slips, but I did see somebody mention that just filling up a tray with soil and then putting the sweet potatoes in the soil, just kind of pushing them a little bit lightly into the soil. And then just leaving them there and watering. I think it's bottom watering, which is what I typically do. Or maybe even just spritzing the top to keep the soil a little bit moist. And then you'll start seeing the slips growing off of the sweet potatoes. And then once they get to a pretty good length, you can cut them off or just kind of pinch them off. And then what you'll do from there is put the slips into a cup of water, and once they start sprouting, you'll see the roots start to form on the bottom of them, and then from there you can plant them out once you're able to in your area, because you want the soil to be a certain temperature outside before you plant them so that they don't die. So what I'm doing is just filling up half of a tray. I put my sweet potatoes in there, and then I still need to poke some holes in the bottom of this, and then I'm gonna put this tray into another tray, and that way I can water them from the bottom and it stays pretty moist.
Bye-bye.
So I've never grown broccoli from seed before. I did buy some started plants from our local nursery last year because we moved. So I wasn't able to start seeds, which was pretty sad because I really enjoy it. But the broccoli actually did pretty well where we are, so I'm hoping that I can get some started from seed for the first time. And then also, we didn't grow celery last year, and I do make a lot of stalks. So I would like to have our own celery for that, so that we don't have to buy it from the grocery store. And my carrots actually were horrible at germinating last year as well. So that was the first season that we didn't have a carrot harvest whatsoever. Okay. So we picked up some seed starter from the local composting place. It is an organic seed starter mix. And I've never really had any issues before with the organic soils that we've used. Usually I'll boil some hot water and put it in there, but this year I'm not going to worry about it. I do use heated mats for germination, which really makes a big difference. I would definitely look into getting some of those if you're going to be starting from seeds, because it's just so much simpler. You have a much higher germination rate when those seeds are in warm soil, and you could definitely tell a huge difference. And then also one trick that I did find for starting onion seeds, because I tried growing onions for 1 year, they germinated horribly. So then I did a ton of research trying to figure out how to grow onions the best, because we use a ton of them and it's just more practical to try to grow what we use the most. It doesn't really make a lot of sense to grow things if you're not going to eat them. So what I found was to, instead of using these little cellular trays, to just fill up an empty seed tray and scatter the seeds in here and lightly cover them. And whenever I did that the first time, I had the best onion germination I've ever had. I think I transplanted out about 400 to 600, somewhere around there, onion starts. The one thing that I did not do, because I didn't read about it in any of the research, or I overlooked it somehow, was to trim the greens on them. I did read that people do that, and it helps to redirect the growth into the bulb itself when you're starting them. So they were getting really top heavy, and then the leaves on them were falling over. So I would say once they're probably about 2 inches tall or so, to go through with scissors and just cut a little bit of the tops off.
Right.
And then at the beginning of seed starting season, I like to go through my trays and check them all out. Usually at the end of the season, I'm just like so worn out from the seed starting, the repotting, the hardening off the plants, taking them up and down lots of stairs, and then planting them out, harvesting, preserving all that I just neglect to wash properly and go through all my seed trays. So I like to just make sure there's no holes in them or that they're cracked. And if they are, then I put them to the side and use them for something else if I can. But I always like to reuse what I can as much as I can for as long as I can. And I am gonna try, I have kind of a collection of all these different onion seed packets, and I think I'm just gonna plant a bunch of them just to see what we like the best. I didn't really keep track that first year that I transplanted so many out of what varieties grew really well, but I also didn't properly weed them. They actually grew pretty well without keeping up with the weeds and adding any compost or anything like that to them. But I want to try to just get some of these seeds out of my seed boxes so I can figure out which ones work the best in this zone that we're at and see which ones grow the best. So these ones are from Baker Creek, and they are round tropea, I believe is what they're called. They're a red variety, which are my favorites. I'm just gonna use them all. Let's see how many I can get in here. Hoping to get really good germination from these. And it is pretty cold down here. I usually start my seeds in the basement. At our last house, we had a wood stove in the basement, so it actually kept it pretty nice and warm. Our wood stove now is an outside wood boiler. Thank you. So it's still pretty cold down here. We will have our shop lights up and the germination seed mats, which should keep them pretty warm. I'm gonna sprinkle a little bit of dirt on top. The rule of thumb that I use is to plant your seeds 3 times the height of the seed. And onion seeds are rather tiny, so I don't even dig holes to bury them. I sprinkle them on top, and then I sprinkle a little dusting of soil on top because they really don't need to be covered a ton. And I don't want to use my fingers to brush the soil over them. Whereas typically you can just put your finger in, drop the seed in, and brush the soil over top and pat it down. But I find that whenever I do that with these tiny seeds, you can spread the seeds around more, and then you'll have big gaps where things aren't germinating because the seeds aren't there anymore where you put them. So I just sprinkle a little bit of soil over top and ever so slightly pat them down. You don't want to compact the soil, push them down too hard, because you want them to sprout up as easily as possible. whenever you spray them with water or water them in, if too much water is hitting it too hard, those seeds are going to dislodge and come out and they won't be covered anymore and they will fail to germinate. So I put the variety seed packet on top, and then I will label it better later, but I don't want to forget because I think we've all been there where we plant stuff and then completely forget to label it, and then we never know what it is. I've done that quite a few times to where I'm just like, okay, I'll plant these out and see what they are. It is kind of a fun little mystery surprise sometimes, but if you do plan on selling your seedlings, it's nice to know what you have so that you can sell things to people, which I have done in the past, and I really enjoy selling stuff because it's really hard for me not to use plants that I've grown. And then I'm going to start another one. I think I'll do as many as I can because I usually freeze the broccoli and we eat it through the winter, so I'm hoping to get enough for most of our meals. You have your cookie? Yeah, we're going to use that later. Unless you want to fill up the seed trays. Do you want to do that for me? Okay, you put them in here and fill them up. Can you fill it up? I usually go like this. I scoop it and then shake, shake, shake. Scoop it, shake, shake, shake. So that there's enough soil in there for the seeds. Or you can scoop it up and, nope, keep it in here though. I don't want to spill it. You eating your cookie? Okay. Alright, so I have 2 different kinds from Baker Creek. I have the Calabrese or Calabrese, don't know how to say it, green sprouting, which kind of looks like, I don't know, the picture that they used looks like a smaller stalk or a smaller head of broccoli. I forgot what it's called, not florets. I don't remember. There's like a smaller variety of broccoli. I'm not sure what they're called at the moment. And then just your regular Welcome 29 is what it's called. And then I believe this was another one my awesome egg customer gave me. She gave me a big package of seeds that they weren't going to use. This one is the Green Magic Hybrid. We usually try to do mostly organic where we can, heirloom seeds, stuff like that. But I want to use up the seeds that I do have. Calhoun, stay down here, please. These seeds are just a little bit bigger or around the same size as, careful, as the onion seeds. Mommy's gonna put these in the soil.
Yeah. Do you?
Here. You gotta put them right in here. Hang on. Here, let me put them in your hand. Put them in here. Yeah. Is that a yummy cookie? What does it taste like? Cookie. We're gonna have cookie plants too. You drop some of your cookie in there. If only that's how they grew. That would be something fun to have, huh? Cookie plants. And then I'm gonna lightly cover them. I'm used to the seeds that are a lot larger that you just poke a hole, drop it in, cover it up. These little ones, they don't scare me, but they worry me a little bit more for germination purposes because they're just so small. and I don't want to cover them with too much soil. And I want to space them enough, but also use the space that I have. And then I added a little bit more soil on top of them. I'm just gonna pat them down. Dig it in the dirt. Nope, keep it in here, or you can put it in this one. You wanna put the dirt in that one? Thank you. Good job. There's lots in here. Okay. And then this is the Walton 29. Pick up, dump in, yes. Are you like a dump truck? Is that what the garbage truck does? Dumps it in? We have had quite a fascination with the garbage truck lately. Once he noticed the gentleman showing up every week. So, and he is just in love with trucks in general because his father is a truck driver. I believe that's what he's mostly excited about trucks for. Oh no, we spilled them. It's okay. Yeah. Those are the doggies. And hopefully I can start quite a few because you get one head from each plant, which was a learning curve for me because, you know, I'm just so used to tomatoes and peppers and things like that that grow a ton of fruit. So I have to get used to they're more like onions where they just produce one, which is a good meal for us for each head to do, but I would like to at least have one head of broccoli per week to get us through so that we have one side dish of broccoli per week at least. And then for the other days for dinner, I could use zucchini or green beans, things like that, potatoes as side dishes, but at least one side of broccoli per week, if not more, because it's really yummy. And then the children also can eat it, which our baby's just starting to eat, so I could definitely give her some broccoli if I had more, but we didn't grow that many this last year. So I have two different varieties of celery. This one's almost gone. It's the Utah 5270 tall organic celery. And that's from the Sustainable Seed Company. These ones are pretty old. I think Eli had these when we met. So it's from 2018. And these actually grew really well. I remember when I met him, he had these in his garden and I was in shock that it was celery because I grew up not eating stuff like this. It was mostly packaged food. So I was like, what is that growing? And I smelled it and it was celery and I didn't know how it grew and now I do. Okay, so I was able to get all of my celery planted and I just turned the trays in here so that I know which ones go to each seed packet. I'm gonna move them over here to get them out of the way. And then the last thing that I want to start today is going to be my lavender plants because I've never successfully been able to start them. It does say 8 to 10 weeks before your last frost. So I'm just gonna start a little bit earlier and hopefully get some plants from these. I have the Munstead and Elegant Purple. The Elegant Purple is from Johnny's Seeds, and then the Munstead Lavender is from M.I. Gardner, who is a local here in Michigan. So I'm just gonna get as many as I can planted so that hopefully if germination is poor for these, or if they grow super slow or die, maybe hopefully I'll get one plant from each because I love lavender, but I've never been able to grow it. And these seeds are super tiny as well. So tiny. see how tiny they are? What do they smell like?
Higher.
When I lived down south in Mississippi, I went to a place for lunch with some friends, and we had the lavender lemonade when we were there, and it was probably one of the best things I've ever drank in my life. It was so refreshing and just a different, I love lemonade in general, but it was just, the lavender made it so much better. And I did make some last year with some lavender that I had bought. I don't remember where I got it. Maybe the farmer's market, but it was so good. It wasn't exactly how they made it. I'm not sure how they made it, but it was so good. And I would like to have my own lavender plants so that I can perfect that recipe. Oh, it was just delicious. And that's kind of the driving factor to me growing my own lavender, other than for the pollinators. The fact that it's beautiful, the fact that it smells good. I would like to have that lavender lemonade. It's so good. So, are you gonna push that dirt around with your chalk?
No.
No. You need more? Okay. Hopefully I have enough to fill these trays. I don't like leaving even a single seed behind in the packages. I'm trying to make sure that I get every single one. And I did. They're so tiny. They're about the size of a poppy seed, these lavender seeds. I'm gonna lose the small one. Actually, come back. Put that back in there, and now I'm just gonna plant something else. Let's see. I think I'm gonna do some more broccoli. The rest of my seeds are upstairs. And instead of taking my toddler upstairs, I'm gonna do these Calabrese green sprouting broccoli from Baker Creek. These are an heirloom. Yeah, I'm not sure why the picture makes it look so small, if that's how the head looks or if that's just the picture that they chose. Not sure. Hopefully they make enough for a meal. Otherwise, for a family, it's kind of pointless. It would be nice for maybe just one person to eat, or two. Small families, stuff like that, but I love steamed broccoli and roasted broccolis. Broccoli with cheese. I actually like to put Parmesan on it. Sometimes it's really good like that, or even just salt and pepper. A little garlic powder. Or just steamed. No salt or anything. I'm a big veggie eater. I love vegetables. And even just eating them raw is delicious. Let me get the rest of these in here. Okay. And then I can cover them up with a little soil. And that will be it for starting seeds for today. I have to dig out my seed mat, my germination mats, get them plugged in because it is pretty cold down here. I always forget if I covered my seeds. I need to pay more attention to that. Eli's gonna get me some tables set up here. It'd be a little bit different than how we've done it in the past, but usually we just put out some horses and put a big piece of plywood on the middle, and I can go from there and just set up a ton of trays. I usually will put them on the mat until they germinate under the light with the mat, and then I have the domes over top of them, which I also need to find. And once they germinate, I pull them off and just set them under the lights. And I make sure that I have the lights close enough so that they don't shoot up trying to reach it. If it's farther away, they kind of shoot up and get leggy and try to get as close as they can to that light because it's warmth. So if you keep it lower, maybe about 2 or 3 inches above it, I would say probably 3 inches is pretty good just to start with, so that they don't shoot up. And that way they don't get super leggy and fall over. I also like to put a fan on them. It helps imitate the wind and it makes them stronger, which is really nice and helpful in growing strong plants. But that's it for right now. Success.